Hi, I'm Rahul, and today myself, Craig, and Charlie will be discussing the horror genre in film. Horror in film is a genre that's supposed to be scary and or shocking. Unlike some other genres which simply categorize the way a story is told, the horror genre focuses on getting a reaction out of the audience. They want us to feel a certain way, whether that be scared, disgusted, shock, or all of those rolled into one. The need for this reaction is what shapes everything else about the film. The setting, costumes, lighting, music, and more are all executed in a specific way to get the audience to feel fear. This is what makes the horror genre unique and one of the most interesting genres in film.
Atmosphere and setting. Certain locations create specific moods that can help add to a scene. Finding the right location can be crucial to how a scene will play out. For example, for his low-budget horror film Monsters, Gareth Edwards acted as writer, director, cinematographer, and special effects supervisor. He did his own location scouting from his computer, using Google Earth to survey Mexico, Belize, and Guatemala, using the off-screen space to create suspense and/or surprise. In horror films, it's conventional to suggest an unseen menace, but dwell on a character staring fearfully at something off-screen we hear but do not see. If we hear a door creaking, we anticipate that someone has entered the room, and we probably expect to see that person in the next shot. Lighting is a key factor in this category, as different setups have different effects. If a perfect location can't be found, using practical elements can help in creating the correct atmosphere in an otherwise general location, such as adding fog, changing the lighting, changing the time of day, or waiting for different weather, etc. The color of an environment adds to the overall atmosphere a film is trying to create. As you can see in the picture behind, this blue, dark, and dreary color adds to the overall feeling.
Cinematography in horror films is often used to remove the comfort of the viewer by putting them into the shoes of the protagonist. And what I mean by that is, say you see something really horrifying happen on screen, such as a murder, then it cuts to a close up of the protagonist, and you can see their horrified, shocked, and disgusted face. And it's probably a similar face to what the viewer is making, and that sort of connection can put you right in the shoes of the protagonist, and you can really sympathize with them, and you want them to succeed because you see yourself as that character. Similarly, when a protagonist is being chased by a menacing villain, there will often be a POV shot with shaky camera work. Maybe they're hiding in a closet or something, and they're looking through foreground objects to see the figure that follows them. Lighting is crucial in horror filmmaking. It could turn an average Joe into a dark figure of evil. For example, in the film Apocalypse Now, Marlon Brando plays a character named Colonel Kurtz. And throughout the film, you're introduced to this man as somebody who's very genius, evil, dangerous, just very enigmatic. And when you finally see him, you're expecting to see what he looks like and learn about him as a man. But you really just see this big, dark figure, and it's kind of hard to make heads or tails of what you're seeing. And it sort of adds this aura of darkness around him because you're aware of his personality. Then he's as dark on the outside as he is on the inside. Sometimes in old black and white films, especially, the darkness is really played up, and sometimes characters will even hide in the shadows or almost become lost in them. And when the viewer sees a big, dark, open area, they can sympathize with that, and they start to have similar feelings. You start to feel as if that there are people out around every nook and cranny, just lingering right in the darkness. It is these sort of lighting effects that makes horror films so memorable and scary for the viewer.
Music and sound. Using silence to build up suspense. Sound gives a new value to silence. A quiet passage can create an almost unbearable tension, while an abrupt silence in a noisy passage can jolt us. Most contemporary sound mixers drop in about a half second of silence just before explosions and other loud noises. Creating the right score can change the entire feeling of a scene. Using sound to guide or distract the audience, and using the correct music or sounds for a specific scene. A low-budget horror film with awkward acting and unconvincing special effects can stir an audience to shrieks with disgusting slurps, snaps, and gurgles. Sound is the biggest bang for your buck of anything in the movie business. This also applies for using the correct music or sounds for a specific scene, as if somebody like the protagonist were dying in a scene and you had happy-go-lucky music playing, it wouldn't very well translate. Different music can create different feelings. If you want your audience to feel a certain way, you change the music. Sound can change the perspective of the audience in an instant, rather than needing a visual indicator to create feeling. A slight change in the score or an added sound can allow for an easy indicator of emotional change.
Now we'll take a look at 2 horror clips from the films Psycho and Halloween. Pay attention to how the elements of films we discussed are used in these clips. Discussion question. After watching those clips, how did some of the basic elements of film, such as music, cinematography, and lighting, help make those 2 scenes scary?